the Harbir Singh podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. It's a huge honor today to have Onkar Singh with us. He has a wealth of knowledge in training and nutrition. And so this is going to be a very much anticipated episode. So thank you to him for his time. Before we go any further, make sure you smash the like button, comment, share. Make sure you share this with the people that you know who really need it in our community so we can get his knowledge out to more people and get him to have more of an impact. Okay, so thank you, first of all, buddy, for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I've been following you, but for somebody who may have just come across this video and doesn't know too much about you.
Yeah. Do you want me to keep it short or the long version?
Yeah, I think if we keep it short, because this has been one of the most anticipated episodes, I think, because we've got a ton of questions for you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start by, when I was around 18, straight out of gymnasium, we call it here in Sweden, I had been working out at the gym, like with a friend, and not that serious. I was just watching him doing whatever he was doing, because he was a good friend of mine, and he started training already when he was 14 years old. And I was, when he got like 16 at my age, he had like this biceps, which was like, it was really nice. And so I got inspired by him, and I was like, let's go to the gym. So he taught me something in the beginning. Still, I didn't take it seriously. When you're a kid, first time going to the gym, you don't care about nutrition, you don't care about sleep, anything, just lift weights. So I did my bench press and curls. After gymnasium, I started university, and I started studying 3D. So which was a lot of computer, like all day, whatever you did, like when you got to your classroom was like all day in front of the computer. And that's when I started to realize, like, all my mind, like sitting there watching the lectures, the only thing I could think about was like, when can I go home so I can go work out? And that's when I started to find out, like, okay, this is really something that I want to do. And so I dropped off university after 1 year, and I went, like, I think 1 or 2 months after that, I went on a course to become a personal trainer. So right away, I become a personal trainer. And I started to work as a personal trainer, and that's when I was just all in. After that, I just wanted to learn everything. CrossFit started to be big at that time, and I was like, these guys and girls are doing handstand, muscle ups. They're, all of the cool stuff, like calisthenics got popular, and I was like, they're already doing it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they were doing a little bit weightlifting, and they're doing sort of bodybuilding type. And to that point, I've only done bodybuilding. And so I started with CrossFit, and then, it just went off from there. Like I just, I even started to study sports science after that, because I felt like personal training, it was just 2 weeks, just bunch of reading, just remember, but don't know the purpose and the meaning behind it. And I felt like I need more. So I went on this university, and after that, I learned everything about rehab and prehab, anatomy, diets, and everything. So basically, at that point, I was full on into this training world.
Wow. So I have a lot of questions off the back of that for you, if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So first of all, where are you from? I know, but just for people who may not know you.
I'm from Sweden. And it's not Switzerland, it's Sweden. People always mix it up.
And in terms of, first of all, kudos to you. You're in Sikh group. There's a lot of people in the fitness industry, I think, from our community, but the very few, I could probably count them on one hand, who are in Sikh group. So it's inspiring to see. It's amazing. And I've followed your journey for some years, and I think, that you're natural. You've done it naturally, which is, again, very, very, very rare nowadays. So what's it like being in Sweden and being a Sikh in Sweden?
I think being a Sikh in Sweden isn't what people think. Like most of people think it must be hard, but the Swedish people are very like they don't ask much. Like they're curious and they look at you because they're like, whoa, okay, what's that? But they're not rude. They're not like, and most of all, they're when you meet a person one on one, he won't ask you too much. But if it's a group of people, then they start talking to be like, oh, what's that, and stuff like that. So, and the thing is, where I went to school and grow up, I have three older siblings. All of them went to the same school. And so like the teachers over there and like the principal, everyone knew already who Sikhs are. They knew my parents. They've been there like so many times. So I had a easy time growing up in Sweden. And so yeah, I wouldn't say that it's, that is holding me back, holding my Sikhi back. No, definitely not.
That's amazing. And this is a question I get asked a lot. In terms of from younger generations, and they ask about training in Sikhi group, like, do you feel comfortable going to the gym, and how did you have any issues with that?
No, never. The thing is, it mostly comes down to the way I grew up, the way my parents raised me, the way I looked up to my siblings, and I've never had the problem where I felt ashamed. Like even in school, I started to wear pag when I was 6 or 7 years old,
Wow.
and I tied it on myself because I was watching my brother, and the way he was doing it, I was doing the same because I was like, if he has, I can have it.
Wow.
And at when we had like sports in school, then I used to tie patka because my pag always went off.
Yeah.
And then in the changing room, I know a lot of people, they go into the bathroom and do the style. And I was like, why? I was always like in front of everyone, because if you don't do it, then that's when people are gonna be like, okay, what's that? But if you show them your case and you do everything in front of them, it's not like dangerous anymore. It's not something that they're gonna like. That's the reason they're gonna have to be like, oh, okay, now I can ask. I mean, look at him. He's doing all. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let the questions come. Like, I don't care. I have a valid reason for what I'm doing. Is all like logically for me, and I just explain, and they're like, cool. And from there, and this is like when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, and that's just been through me my whole life. And so in the gyms, I mean, in the gym is where I feel the most confident, just because I've been doing it for so long. Like I know what I'm doing. So right now it's like, I used to care about how my star looks. I want it to be good and nice. Now I literally, like, if it get loose right on the spot, I just drop the dumbbells and do my star again.
Yeah.
So there's like, if you know why you are wearing a star, then why are you afraid of it? Why are you ashamed of it? Like, the only person that need a good explanation is you. And if you feel like you have one, then you can give one to other people, and then they won't say anything because you're so confident.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really very good answer. And in terms of, I'm really glad you didn't go into IT and to go into BD, because we wouldn't know you. We wouldn't be having this conversation if that was the case. So yeah, I'm glad you went down this direction. But it kind of seems like at that point you just followed your heart and you just did what you wanted 100%. To do. You didn't know how it was going to turn out.
No, I had no idea. I just knew that I can't sit in the classroom anymore. Like, I can't. I need to go out.
Yeah. And from a Sikhi perspective, like, how does training fit into that, like, in terms of your identity, and do you draw on any comparisons or any strengths from your faith with training?
No, like, to be honest, the reason why I started was I was so into, like, I want a six-pack. Like, I didn't care about anything else. It wasn't about Sikhi. It was just, I had my goal that I wanted to achieve. And when I did that, then I realized, like, because when I went that way, I was asking people, how can I do? And they were like, you need to eat meat you need to have this, you need your protein. And at first I was like, I'm vegetarian, like this won't fit in, or like this won't happen. But at the same time, I was like, it shouldn't be like, okay, let's see what I can do. And I start to read about it. I started to read about proteins and stuff like that. And then I just, it wasn't about Sikhi. It was just about what I like to do.
Yeah. And I think there's something very valuable in that, because I think a lot of the South Asian population is probably just in a profession because their parents think it's a good profession for them to be in, with complete disregard to whether it's something that they have any interest in or not. And then you get kind of 10 years into a career and you think, I have no joy from doing this thing. And
exactly.
I hate
it. The thing is, I did had like my dad, he was questioning from time to time, like, are you still going to find this interesting in 10, 20 years? Like, he didn't tell me like, don't do it, but he was like, you were going on a university and you would have an education, and now you're doing this. And I do understand, because he didn't know what you can do, with fitness. And like, especially 10 years back, like now it's popular, to go to the gym. Like, it's a trend. But then it was more like, you do it if you want results. And then now he started to see how much I can do with it. Like, I have my YouTube channel where I inspire thousands of people to learn and to do what I'm doing, doing online coaching. And he's so surprised that I'm working from home doing online coaching. So yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to that our parents don't really know what you can do with this.
Absolutely. And I guess for South Asian population, education is really important. So, it was like this when I was growing up, it was like the standard thing that you had to go to university. It didn't matter if you were going to do anything with your degree or not.
The thing is, I do understand, like, my dad, he, all of our parents probably left like their homes to come here to work at restaurants and do all this just to see their kids to go to university and be something big. And all these years they have that in their mind. And I'm like, Dad, I'm gonna be a personal trainer. I'm gonna work on my physique. And it's gonna be a question, but as long as you understand your parents and they understand you have a good communication, then I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And I think it's going 360 now. So my wife's a doctor. I've done, studied, and with my kids, we're not so concerned about what education they have. We just want them to be happy, and we want them to be good human beings. So not that our parents didn't want that, but they wanted us to have the opportunities they didn't.
Exactly.
But actually now we're reflecting on, well, you could be Elon Musk, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be content, or you're going to be a good family person. So
exactly.
So you need that balance of following your passion as well. All right, so let's get into the questions.
Yes.
The common one I think everyone is going to ask is, and I have this question as well, that with vegetarians and upbringing, I noticed that they have kind of like the muffin top, they have the belly, and they might be skinny, but they have a lot of abdominal fat. So Nin Singh has asked diet, and I think he means, what's your diet like?
My diet right now is high protein, I would say, but I like, that's the only thing that I focus on right now to maintain high protein, but also have a good amount of fats, because I believe, like, especially for vegetarian, like carbs they get either way, all the rotiyan, jars, like I don't worry about carbs. Protein in the Punjabi food, like, there's zero almost. So that's why I focus a lot on proteins. And same with fats, like there's not a lot of good fat in Punjabi food. So that's the two things that I focus on. And right now I'm not on a diet. I'm actually trying to gain weight. So I just eat everything I see. But I make sure that I stay around 200 grams of protein every day.
Okay. And as a caveat, I think it's important to mention that you probably get this every day, but people probably want to know what you eat. But that's you know, from a decade worth of experience, trial and error, your training lifestyle is maybe completely different to the person asking. So I think if someone really wants to know what to eat, they should probably contact you, and then you can do an assessment and figure out what they need. But
For sure.
all of these questions, they're going to be quite generic, and so is difficult questions for you to answer, really, because you know, without knowing anything about this person. So if the person's serious about training, they should definitely contact you. But I appreciate you giving kind of like a broad stroke answer to these questions. How do you manage functions? Like, do you go somewhere and someone says, you know, paronte khala, pakore khala, and like, you know, you have to, or how do you get around that?
If I'm on a diet, then I bring my own food box. And that's like, people find it. My parents are used to it now, so they don't say anything anymore. But and same with my family. Like, if I go somewhere, they know that I will have my own food. So if I'm on a diet, I don't have any excuse. I don't like. People can sit in front of me and eat a pizza like I'm there with my food, because the thing is, I know what it will give me. You know, with time, I know that if I stick to this will be my goal. And so, but when I'm not on a diet, like right now, I eat everything, but I make sure that I get my daily protein.
And you sound quite goal oriented. So I've spoken to some fighters, and they have a fight date coming up, so they know they need to be strict with their diet in order to make the weight for their fight. How do you stay motivated? Do you have like a mental goal that you want to be this kind of physique, or is it like competition, or how do you manage that?
The thing is, that's a really good question. Like, I've been so okay when it started. Like, I was just about getting the six pack, and then from there now I want the six pack, but I want to be bigger. And then from there, it was just, okay, now I want bigger legs. Now I want bigger that. Now I want to be stronger. So it was my own goals every time. And on my Instagram, I've done like Onkar 2.0, Onkar 3.0, and now I'm working on 4.0.
Wow.
So that's something that I have in my own like head, that, okay, this is how I looked, and now I wanted this. And then there's so much things that motivate me, like CrossFitters, Olympic weightlifters, people on Instagram that have a great physique. Like, there's so many things that inspires me. But yeah, it's a different, like, I never competed. I never had like a deadline. I just knew that this is how I want to look, and then I just work for it.
That's amazing, because most people go boom and bust, right? They'll get into shape, and then they'll get fat again, and then they'll get in shape again. It's just
but that's the same thing with what I'm doing. Like, I have you have your off season. That's when you have your time to build muscle, and then you want to come on season, so you go on a diet. But it's fun.
Yeah. It's really interesting. You're probably one of the very few people that I know who've, you know, being able to motivate themselves without an external kind of driver. So that's a credit to you. And if someone can find intrinsic motivation like that, just from the joy of training, I think they're set for life. Someone asked, how do you naturally increase testosterone?
Well, like, first of all, it depends on diet. Like, if you get all your, like, really make sure you get all your proteins, fat, carbs, so you are like healthy diet, that you sleep enough. Some people just focus on the diet and the training, and then don't care about how much they sleep. Like, you really need to sleep. And the thing is, with testosterone, it's natural. Like, if you, something that really boosts your testosterone is actually lifting weights. But then it's also like, it's very common that people have low testosterone, and I always recommend people that feel tired and like, even if they eat good and all this stuff, like, go check your testosterone levels, like if they are good, and if they're not, then doctor will give you and make sure that's right. And for me, I've never focused on that, like testosterone. I know that it was a guy that I used to train with. That's a very like famous guy here in Sweden, and he got all these questions a lot because his body is really like, well, like he's been training for 20 years, and he's like, as soon as I get older and my testosterone levels drops, I will take testosterone to boost the levels. So like, check that up. If it's normal, if your levels are normal, then just think about being healthy, get your protein, fat, carbs, and lift, and that will be enough, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because I think you're covering kind of both ends. There's the medical end of when someone is outside of the range that they should be for their age group, and that does need to be addressed because they increases your risk of heart disease, heart attack, libido, energy, all of those kinds of things are impacted by it. But on the other spectrum, there's probably people who've seen like six-pack shortcuts or some kind of YouTube video where it says, this is how you can increase your testosterone. And they see a guy who's like, looks like you or who's ripped, and he says, I take this supplement or I do this. And now
it's all about the money. It's all about the selling the stuff. All the fat burners and everything, like that's just to selling, just to get money. Like I people ask me like, do you use fat burners? Never. I've never like the closest I come to fat burners is caffeine, and that's because it pumps up my heart rate, so I burn more calories. But that's so minimal. Like that's in the end, like all that's gonna matter is how many calories you burn.
And in terms of from your perspective, how much of getting into shape, which is probably what most people want to do, is down to diet, and how much of it is training?
I would say like everything is really about diet. Like if you wanna lose weight, you don't even have to go to the gym. Like that, the only thing you need to care about is your calorie intake. But then in the other hand, you don't want to lose muscle. The reason why you go to your gym is to keep having strength, because what will happen if you don't focus about that is the first thing that will go is your muscles. So if you do, like, you need to have both, but it depends. If someone doesn't want to have muscle and just want to lose weight, I will say just get a good diet plan. But if you want to get into shape, and by that I mean you want to add on muscle, you want to, then I would say is 50-50.
That's a really good answer. And to add to that, I feel like from a medical perspective, there's more and more research coming out on longevity and strength. So they've actually been able to predict someone's longevity based on grip strength. So that's been the best predictor, even better than cardiovascular endurance and stamina. So what they're saying is very important, especially as you get older, to do some kind of resistance training. It doesn't need to be trying to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they should be doing like calisthenics, or everyone should be doing some form of resistance training to prevent neurocognitive decline and to prevent lots of other diseases, metabolic diseases like diabetes. So yeah, I think you're right. I think you're spot on. Your training is still important, regardless of if you're just trying to lose weight. Someone asked about, after training, is it important to have electrolytes or protein?
I would say protein, like together with carbs, because people don't really think about all you've been doing is to use your carbs, like at the gym. So you need to refill that as well. Electrolytes is nothing really that I focus on, but protein definitely together with carbs. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's probably a stranger question, less commonly asked, because unless you're running a marathon or doing something in extreme heat, I don't think you need to worry too much about electrolytes. Someone asked, will I lose muscle if I eat enough protein but and in calorie deficit? So I guess they want to cut down their calorie consumption, but they want to keep their protein levels high, and they're concerned about whether they would lose muscle.
No, like that's the way you want to do it. Like when you go on a diet, high protein, like even higher than when you're bulking, to be like on the safer path, and then keep up with working the muscles. So yeah, I would say go for it. That's the way to do it.
And how much protein would you recommend an individual has? So if you've got average weight of a male being 70, 75 kilograms, how much protein should that individual have?
Like the general is like double your body weight, but I usually go a little bit higher just to be safe. So if you're 75, then 150 grams. And if you were my client, I will probably give you 165 or 170 grams.
Okay. Can you recommend any vegetarian protein sources?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, dairy products, if you're not a vegan, which I'm not. So I use a lot of that. And then there is food. Right now in Sweden, you get a lot of soya products, soya, corn, tofu. And that's like my daily meals. It's always some sort of soya, corn, and then beans. There's nuts. Like there's so much. Like this used to be a problem when I started, but now, like if you just Google vegan protein options, like there's so many. But for me, yeah, this is what I do. And then, of course, protein bars is good. I use them when I'm off season, not on season because there's high calories. And then I use whey protein as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Someone asked, how do you go from fat to fit in 3 months?
You can't. Or it depends how, like, the more overweight you are, the bigger the results will be. For me, when my diets is often 3 months, like I try to keep it, because 4 months I get stupid, like that's too much. And 3 months, and I go from I start around 15% body fat, and I go down to maybe 9 or 10, and that takes me 3 months. And that's about 10 kilos every time. So yeah, but from fat to fit, that I wouldn't say 3 months. No.
Yeah, I think that could potentially be dangerous if you're trying to start some kind of intensive exercise regime and your body's not really adapted, like physiologically, your ligaments, muscles, tendons, and you try and go from nothing to running a marathon or something. You're gonna probably
exactly. The thing is, usually when I get this question, I ask them, how long did it take for you to get fat? And then they will say 2 years. And then like, oh, so you expect to be fit in 3 months? And that's when they understand, like, oh, okay. Because the thing is, you don't really want to be fit in that, because your skin won't even
adapt.
To your new body. So take it easy, take it slow, and make it a lifestyle, and you won't regret it.
Yeah, I think people often, like when they're getting married, then they try and like lose weight drastically.
I have a lot of online clients that's like, I'm gonna get married in 5 months. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can help you start this journey, but don't expect anything to happen to your wedding.
Yeah. And have you noticed how as soon as the wedding day is over, they gain all the way back?
And that's actually funny. Like when I post stories on my Instagram that I gain weight, and they're like, oh, it's because you're married, it's because this and that. No, now it's over for you. And I'm like, I'm counting macros. Like I know what I'm doing. Like
yeah. And plus, I think when you meet somebody, you're on a similar page, right? You attract similar energies, and I'm sure your wife is supportive of your health journey and stuff. So I don't think you're going to have a problem. Okay, how do you know what diet works for you? I think that's quite a general question as well.
I've tried. I test it and see if it works for me. Like the one thing that definitely don't work is fasting. I try that and I just get I just get mad. Like I need food, and food are important for me. Like having sit down and having breakfast in the mornings, I like it. I enjoy it. Uh, and then I also tried this keto diet, no carbs, and I got so weak in the gym that I mentally started questioning like, what am I even doing in the gym? Like I felt like I lost all my strength, and that was really bad for me mentally. And I come down to the like high protein diet, and so I divide it in like 40 20 20, and that works very well for me. And I keep up with my cardio, and I make sure I eat good food.
And if you have a client, would you just figure out what kind of lifestyle they have, and then based on that, see what approach or what they want to try, and then help them, guide them through that process?
Exactly. So mostly like when they reach out, they don't really have any, okay, I want to do this and I want to do that. They're just like, give me this result. And I often give them like, I try to see their daily routines. I make them, okay, let me know like, what do you usually eat do you eat breakfast? Do you enjoy it? And when is the latest you eat? And so I try to figure out their daily routine, and then from that work a good diet plan for them.
That's amazing. How do you stay in shape during an injury? That's an interesting one.
Depends on what kind of injury it is. I've had back injuries after deadlifting. And what I've done that is I just rested because you can't really walk. Like you have so much pain. So 3-4 days it took, then I was back. So it really depends on what kind of injury you have. But what's really important that I see a lot of people don't do is prehab. Like when they do get injuries, then they go all in on rehab, but there are no prehab. And that's something that I like. Every session I start with my warming up my shoulder blades, and that's something like people never see. Like, what are you even doing? I'm focusing on that. And leg day, people go straight to squats, like no warm-ups, no for hips, no for knees. So I really focus that, and that way the only injury I had is my back, and that was because I was deadlifting and I forgot to put the lock on one side, so the weight was going on the one side, and I was doing maxes of like 3 reps. And then when I went down, my back just went like, because one side went down. So yeah, I would say like reach out. If you have an injury, reach out, and I can give you specific exercises to do.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that's all the questions that were sent in. So thank you for that. They're really well answered. I have a couple, if that's okay. So yeah, sure. I wanted to ask you about CrossFit. What's your opinion on CrossFit? Because there is that kind of bodybuilding versus CrossFit thing, where bodybuilders kind of think, and powerlifters think bodybuilders don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. I will say CrossFit is amazing. Like it's not bodybuilding. It's not powerlifting. It's not calisthenics. It's CrossFit. They have their kipping pull-ups. But they do have their strict pull-ups as well. So it's like, I know like people that starts with CrossFit needs to learn all these specific things before they go to CrossFit. Like don't start from zero and go directly to CrossFit. I wouldn't recommend that. I would if you have a good coach, then do whatever you want. But if you like starting from zero and joining CrossFit class, I wouldn't recommend that. So when I started CrossFit, I knew Olympic weightlifting, sort of. I did it by myself, and so yeah, I would say it's really nice. It's not how builders think about it. Like, oh, they're doing kipping. Well, they're not building their back. They're doing as many as possible, as fast as possible. So yeah, I would say it's really nice, but it's very, very tiring. Like I did it for 2 years, and like if you think you're tired during bodybuilding, like times 10, that's CrossFit. Wow. Like like I was laying down and like looking for air, and it was sometimes like it's really, really hard. So the top level athletes who are doing it, make it look so easy, but if you do it, like, try it and you will understand.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's great how they scale things, and I think you're right. If you have a good coach, then you can learn. There's certain movements that you really want to know, have good body awareness, and know the mechanics of. And
Yeah,
like deadlifting, you don't really want to just try deadlift without having any cues on, what you should be bracing or how you should be lifting, and then
exactly. Like a great example. Like I used to be a CrossFit coach, and the thing is, what they start to do during deadlifts is they start to bounce just to make it faster, and that's something that top athletes do. But they also know how to do it, when to turn your core, how to engage your core. But these beginners, they don't know that the core is like the key for a deadlift. So they don't focus about it. And then you see their hips are going like back and forth and they're extending too much. And so I always tell them, like, you're not allowed to bounce. Like, don't do, yeah, like drop it and start from the beginning. And then I check the form each time and be like, okay, that's good. And then when they understand, when they start to come to heavier weight, that's when I'm like, all right, you have a belt on and do it.
Yeah. And personally, I feel like, because I did CrossFit for a very short period of time. I went to some classes, and I feel like when you're from a physio kind of perspective, there's a lot of accessory work that needs to be done for, shoulders and lower back. And when you have, if you're just like a keyboard warrior and you're on your computer all day, and then you go and do 1 hour of intensive CrossFit, you're not necessarily getting the whole kind of holistic approach to training. Like you're probably not getting enough like core stability work. You're probably not getting enough like spinal stuff. Like so I know they do spend enough time on mobility generally in gyms, but then you've got half an hour for your workout, and that's probably not enough time to train certain weaknesses and do the prehab that you talked about.
Exactly.
So yeah, I noticed a couple of people's backs went out at the CrossFit gym that I was at, and one of the guys was during sprints. They were doing sprint intervals on a track that they had, and I think
probably like a curd one, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
So I think you've got to put in the time to do all the accessory stuff if you're going to be doing like
100%.
all out sprints.
Like people are doing snatches, but they can't even bring their arms behind their head, and they're doing snatches. Like the main position that you need to have is a good overhead position. You don't even start with snatch before you have a good overhead position. And if you're a beginner, like you're saying, like keyboard warrior, and that you go straight to try to doing clean and jerk and snatches, of course your shoulder will just pop off.
Yeah, you'll tear your rotator cuff, and then you'll be like, it will impact on all the other kind of movements. So so yeah, that's it. I think we're on the same page about that. I always ask about books. Are there any books? It doesn't need to be related to training, but if you had to recommend one book, which book would it be?
Honestly, I'm the worst person you could ask this question. I'm not a book like a reader at all, and so I'm really sorry. Like I haven't even read I haven't finished a book like my whole life, because I realized I'm a person that likes to see and hear. Like you have how you learn, and this is how I do it. So reading has never been my thing.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fine. One of the last interviews was with Onkar Singh, the artist from Art of Punjab, he spends all of his time in the studio painting, so he doesn't get time to read. So it's just it means you're dedicated to your craft. Any resources that you recommend in terms of technique, or any other YouTubers that people should follow apart from yourself?
I follow a lot of the thing is, I'm not anymore looking for new technique. Inspiration, new technique. So it's really hard for me. I've been following one person, which is Akurahim, and he's the person that I started to train with later on, and he's been my inspiration since I started. And I remember there was this guy back then, like six pack shortcut guy.
Yes.
I remember his videos well over, but right now I can't honestly say anyone, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like I do follow there's this guy from Canada, like Azad Singh is one of them. Like he likes to train as well, and there's one from UK. So I try to like we try to motivate each other and be like, oh, nice lift and stuff like that. But it's no one that I really follow to learn anything anymore.
Yeah. I guess that's more of a beginner thing where you're looking at different channels to try and figure out technique on squat.
Yeah, like Steve Cook was like one of the guys that I used to follow and see what he was doing. So yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's good to know that you can get to a stage where you're kind of confident enough to know that you know your body and you know the mechanics and you know the movements.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know what I need to be doing, and I know what I enjoy, and that's why I feel like right now I don't need to look at anything else.
Yeah, and I think that's an underrated thing as well. People don't look at what they enjoy; they look at what they should be doing. So they'll do something for a very short period of time, but because they don't enjoy it, they're not going to be consistent with it long enough to get any result, like any meaningful results.
Exactly.
So I think it's amazing you found something you found stuff you enjoy that gives you benefit, and obviously it works.
Yeah.
So where can people get in touch with you if they want to get coaching, if they want to follow you on YouTube and Instagram?
If they want to coaching, then I would say the best thing is to reach out on Instagram. And it's my name, Onkar Singh, with 2 I's on the Singh. And right now, what I'm focusing a lot, like all my time goes to right now, is YouTube. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, and what I do there is mostly lifestyle, is vlogs and combined with fitness and like just about me basically. And so I would be very happy if they subscribe there. And ask me any questions and DM me on Instagram.
Absolutely. So make sure if you're watching this, listening to this, make sure you go over and subscribe right now. We'll wait while you do it. And on Instagram as well, make sure you follow Onkar Singh and show me your appreciation for this interview. Thank you so much, Bhaiya. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate your candor with your honest answers and just laying it all out on the table and just kind of course being so open with everyone.